Sure.
Okay.
Okay.
Hi. I wanted to know what you guys were watching. Like I wanted to understand what we were all entering in together.
What's it like to watch something like that?
Yeah, it makes me always feel weird. I don't know why I did it, but I did just want to have context.
Well, the context is already a really incredible, varied career. I wanted to open with a little joke. The internet tells me that your first on-screen credit was Girl in Car and How the West Was Fun.
Yes.
Do you remember this at all?
Yes, I do. I mean, whether or not I remember shooting it is one thing, but I do have like a strong memory of my sisters filming How the West Was fun. And so sometimes when I was younger, I would just be around because there's 4 kids and 2 of them are working, and it would be easier for my parents with other adults around for us to be hanging around set. And so sometimes they would throw me in one of the things they were doing, whether it was like a made for home movie video or something, or I think that was it. I don't know if that was like in theaters. I'm not sure, but yeah.
At what point did you decide that you might want to do acting professionally? Obviously, you were doing some things with your sisters when you were younger. I know you took a little bit of a break around high school time. Then you go to school. You did a lot of training, which I'm always fascinated by. When did you decide maybe I do want to do this in a more professional capacity?
Well, I was always doing it. So I don't actually know when I know when I made the decision to go to college to do it. I mean, I did not pause in high school. I was full on thespian society in my sweater vest. Yeah, we had sweater vests that said thespian society that we're very proud of instead of a sports sweatshirt. And yes, and ballet, and those are things, and dance singing, my musical theater programs. I even did like children's acting class, where most of them were professionals. I just loved it. I couldn't get enough of it. I loved being I loved doing live performances, and it's kind of funny that when I was in college for theater, I was setting up the Atlantic Theater Company through NYU, and I started understudying. So I guess the decision to pursue it professionally would have been because I went to an acting conservatory in college, and I would not want to spend that much money without pursuing a career. I thought that would have been, that's kind of foolish. But so while I was at the Atlantic Theater Company, because I don't know if you guys are familiar, probably I assume some of you, but it's a great off-Broadway theater company in New York City, and so I was able to understudy for projects that were coming in through their theater company, and that's how I became part of Equity, and I was still in college, and then that's how I met my agent and started auditioning. And the fact that the first job I ended up getting was for a feature and not theater. Theater was much harder to break into. It was a much closed circle, and it wasn't like it is today, where it's very like it's a starry focus, and it used to be like there's like a core theater group that it was hard to get in there, and so it just happened to be film that I started in.
When you're looking back at, your schooling, your training.
Splash zone.
Ponchos. What are some of the lessons that stuck with you? I think it's really easy in the moment to be like, I'm doing an assignment, I'm doing this play, but not necessarily thinking how 10, 15 years down the line, what you're learning is going to impact your professional career.
Like what really stuck with me? I think so much of it. I love being a student, and I find I just want all the information, kind of. So I went to multiple theater companies before I went to Atlantic Theater Company. I studied Meisner and Strasberg. I would do these summer programs for high school students, and then when I was in college, I went to Mossberg Theater School, where they kind of do a continuation of Stanislavski, if that means anything to anyone. Sometimes very boring, but I love knowing the history of whatever it is that I'm doing, where the root starts, and how I can be a part of it. And So I think there's so much I feel like that was foundational to what I do today. I think the thing that was almost a detriment in some ways is I sometimes think there is something where there's like too much schooling where you try and just please teachers. Like I even do that with writing essays. I know what kind of essay a specific teacher would want, and then you kind of lose your own point of view and voice within that. And so I would do the same thing in an acting class, depending on who the teacher was. And I think the thing that was hard for me to figure out was really what my personal point of view was. I think it made making decisions at the beginning of my career a little bit harder because I was just so excited to be a working actor. I didn't realize that I could be curating as well. So that's something I don't think I really realized until 2017 or something.
Well, it's hard because you want to say yes to things, but maybe there's a time to say no to things. I think that's a big lesson for a lot of people.
Yeah, and it's hard to know when I don't know, like you don't want to get in your own way either, and there's lots of different reasons to make work, and sometimes it's that there's not very much work and you need a job, which is very simple way to look at things. And so yeah, it's been a variation over the last 15 years. But
so you mentioned in 2011 Martha, Marcy, May, Marlene.
Yeah.
I remember going to the Sundance where you had, Sean Durkin's film. You also had Silent House, which is a super fun horror film. As a member of the press, an audience member, it's like, oh, she's the next big thing. She's the it girl. She is arriving. Do you remember what it was like at that time to go to Sundance and all of a sudden everyone is looking at you and excited about you?
I do. Again, I wasn't really understanding of the independent film circuit. I didn't really understand film festivals. I understood regional theater far better. And so I thought everyone was insane and living in a snow globe. And I still, to like some extent, think that perspective from the outside looking in is a healthy one instead of drinking the Kool-Aid. And so I'll continue to hopefully keep that with me. However, I do wish there was a part of me that realized what an opportunity it was, because I think I was a bit too much like, okay, that's nice that you guys think that, but it was an opportunity, and I think only one you can see after having many years of things not going as planned. I got very lucky that my first feature that was released was Martha.
At that point in your career, again, everyone is excited about you. You are trying to figure out what's going to be next. What was the first thing that you felt like changed for you in your career after, for many people, debuting in 2011 at Sundance? Did you notice that you were getting different offers? Were you getting immediate offers? Were you getting different auditions? Were you suddenly pigeonholed into horror movies or movies about cults? I often hear that. It's like, oh, my first big one. They just want me for cult members. What was the first big thing that changed for you that you noticed?
Just opportunities, and I don't think I knew how to decipher what was the right group of people to work with. To me, it was more about character and story that I was drawn to, not knowing that needed to be supported by a great filmmaker as well as their producer. And so I think that's the like learning curve. If you're just kind of new to everything.
About 2 years later, you were cast in the Marvel Cinematic Universe, and I think this is something that's really easy to do, is to look at someone's career and be like, well, she did indies, and then she made this big jump. You were always mixing things up. But do you remember what that was like, when it was like, we're going to do these big studio movies? I think even at that point, we didn't know how big they were going to be, and what sort of decisions you were making in terms of your career and how it was going to potentially impact like your own personal life.
Well, I really thought the Iron Man, there's I think 1 or 2 of them at the time, and I thought they were really well-made films, and I thought they did a great job kind of subverting the genre that is a normal like, superhero movie or something, and I thought what an amazing company that cast is, with Mark Ruffalo and Scarlett Johansson and Robert Downey Jr. and so on. And so I felt very lucky and very scared. I think it was 2014 or something, 15, when we shot the first one I did. And now the fact that it's like 10 years later and I have been doing them, is pretty wild because I only signed on for a couple, and that's kind of how I continued to work with them. So I never felt the pressure of like I was like tied to this thing for 6 pictures or something. I really felt like I had a sense of agency, and that it was something that would be a dialogue that I would have with them, and it has been. It's been really fruitful, and the stories have only gotten better for me, for my character, and I really enjoyed it. It's been really, it's some people have ongoing television series that they get to return to, and some people, very few, I feel like, get to be a part of franchises that I know maybe culturally we get a little bit exhausted by, but there is something about them that becomes very familial, becomes a sense of community. We use the same crews, so it is. There's nothing else really like it that I don't know that I'll have again unless it's for an ongoing show, and which is something I didn't know I was open to until recently. But I do like that kind of consistency. It feels good. I mean, job security feels nice. I think we can all agree on that, and that is a part of how I feel about them.
Well, it's funny you mentioned like trying to break into the theater world, and it's, there was a company and you ended up joining a different kind of company. Because I was going to ask, what was the thing that surprised you most about your time with Marvel? But maybe that's the answer. But maybe you have another one.
I think that I'm still here. That they still. I mean, I thought they were going to kill me off sooner. And they did kill me off. But Aaron Taylor Johnson, who played my brother in the first one, he signed on for one, but I think he thought that he'd come back, and he didn't. And so you don't really know. So I think the fact that I even did a television show with them. We were one of the first shows that launched the Disney Plus streaming platform, and it's crazy how we've all just adapted to now we have 12 different streaming platforms. It's so crazy what it's turned into in the last 5 years even. And so to bring these characters that are like larger than life to a television felt strange, but it felt really nice to do that while honoring television. I thought WandaVision was a very clever way to honor the medium, and it's like goofy and hard it is to watch us in a sitcom costume flying in that video just earlier. That was very uncomfortable for me. Yeah, because it's really absurd. He's purple and we're magical and we're flying and we're doing an 80s style sitcom. Like, it's really silly without the context of the show. And it's silly. The show is silly, but without the context, it's painful sometimes.
Well, let's talk about WandaVision. It was, as you said, it was the first Marvel show.
Yes.
We didn't really, as audience members, we didn't really know what it's going to be. And those first few episodes still, they're in different sitcoms, it's so fun. And then it ends up being this really rich.
It's okay. Someone's really trying to get a hold of you, though. Okay.
It ends up being this really rich emotional arc, especially for your character. At what point in getting ready to make the show did you realize, it's going to be more than just cool sitcoms?
At what point? I don't even know. We didn't have all of them at first. I think we had the first 6 or 5. I'm not sure. I don't know. I think I have no idea. I just was trying not to get in my own way and overthink, and just know that we were part of like an actor troupe. We really shot the first episode in front of a live studio audience once, and that is what we did, like the way they did Dick Van Dyke. And I think that was so terrifying for all of us that everything else felt like the most amazing playtime. And so we were just kind of on a train that didn't stop moving until there was COVID, and we had a 3-month break, as did the world, and then we went back and just finished up. We had all the exteriors to finish up the last few episodes, and so I felt. Yeah, it was just, it kind of, I don't know, it was this wild ride, and then the show, strangely, was really, and almost finished, was really reflective of living in this bubble that we all created for ourselves while living through a pandemic. So there's just something kismet that happened with that show. It was a complete accident.
I also love the fact that, yes, it's a superhero show, but it's so much about a magical superhero, but a woman's experience and her perspective on life. And I know that sort of stuff is very interesting and important to you as a performer. Is that, at what point did you realize, oh, this is really tapping into all this stuff that I like so much, maybe not even in the Marvel sphere normally?
Well, I love, what's the phrase I'm looking for? Oh gosh, Lizzie, come on. When you don't trust your lead character.
Unreliable
Thank
narrative.
you.
Yeah.
I love an unreliable narrator, and that's why I loved doing Love and Death so much. Like I love not necessarily trusting the protagonist, and that's always fun for me to know when we're creating doubt for an audience of this person's own perception of what's right or wrong, or what's real, what's not real. And so that was a fun gift to get to play within the kind of like cliffhangers for the episodes.
I did mention before that even while you're making these giant scale movies, indie film was very important to you. I told you beforehand, oh, I loved His Three Daughters, and then seeing the clip, it reminded me why I loved it so much. But something like Ingrid Goes West, which is so funny, Very Good Girls, which is a film I loved when I saw it at Sundance, another Lizzie Olsen Sundance hit. Why was...
I wouldn't call that movie a hit, but thank you.
It was a Sundance hit. It was maybe not a theatrical hit, but it was got a lot of buzz at Sundance. Again, the bubble, the snow globe.
Yeah.
Why is it important to you to keep varying what you do and not necessarily just becoming a Marvel actress or like, you know, a blockbuster franchise actress?
I don't think being a blockbuster franchise actress sounds fulfilling, and I believe in endurance in this job, or in most jobs, and it's about growth, and it's about challenges and continuing curiosity, and I'm saying this really thinking about like any kind of field work, and I think the moment it feels like you're repeating something, I assume that becomes less interesting, and we become lazy, and I want to continue to be surprised and challenged, and sometimes it's frustrating. Right now we can't figure out how to, for the most part, make money from making film, because of how it's all changed so much, and so it makes making movies that I really do love and want to have made, it's making it very challenging right now, and so that's been frustrating. So trying to figure out then, like, either I don't really know how to help it because it's kind of just the situation everyone's in, but trying to then figure out then what can I do that still does feel like a challenge or fulfilling, and that ends up being kind of like pitching and trying to build your own possible work, and so that's been interesting, and also not fun, but because it's way more no's than you're used to, and I'm like really used to no's, as a lot of actors are, and so but it's a whole new muscle that you have to develop, and I do like being a part of development. I love script analysis. I love adjusting edits for all scripts that I work on, if a director's and a writer's open to that, and yeah, so it's just about constantly evolving, I think, and kind of going with the changes of our world.
Very rapid changes.
Yeah, I think for every industry. We're all adjusting to a lot quite quickly in the last 15 years. I feel lucky though that I got to be a part. I also feel lucky that I didn't have social media when I started working, but I do feel lucky that I got to be a part of this kind of these last moments of what independent film was, that probably shifted really in like 13 or something.
You're sort of beautifully teeing me up for what I want to talk about, which is, we saw that wonderful clip for Sorry for Your Loss, which was this beautiful Facebook Watch series.
Yeah.
That was the first time that you produced.
Yeah.
Tell us about the decision to start producing. Sometimes I feel like I hear from performers, it was inspired by a filmmaker or creator who really let you into the process and you loved it, or the opposite, you wanted to be let into the process and you weren't, and you wanted to make your own work. I know you got really immersed into the character, but just tell us about that decision, like, I'm also going to produce this.
So it was around a time when I realized that I needed to probably be a bit pickier with my choices because I wasn't being considered to work with certain filmmakers that I once was. And so what happened was I was sent a spec script, and with the producer and the writer, went like from the ground up. We pitched it, we got a team together, we screwed up together, we cast it together. I was in every stage of making that show. The Facebook thing was first of all to Showtime, and Showtime wanted to keep holding on to it, and so then Facebook just gave us 10 episodes, which doesn't happen that often, so we took it. And they don't even do scripted TV anymore. It was not their thing. and I think that was smart for them. They were very hard to kind of coach along the way of how to make it more visible as one of their first shows, or their first scripted show actually. And the strategy there was I wanted to work with independent filmmakers on each episode, and I got to meet a lot of amazing independent filmmakers making that show, and one of them being Azazel Jacobs, who directed His Three Daughters, who's now a good friend of mine. But if it weren't for that show, he wouldn't have thought of me for His Three Daughters. And so it was quite a strategy, and it was about this idea of like trying to figure out how to create a pivot when you feel like I needed one. I needed one, and so it was amazing to be a part of something from beginning to end, and then it was also amazing to kind of create those opportunities from like a strategy standpoint.
What's your favorite part about producing? You were talking about like being in the edit bay and working on the script, but is there something in particular that when you are getting ready to produce something, you like can't wait for this?
I love being on set. Anytime I'm on set, I'm a happy person. And I think it's because I like problem solving, and I like advocating for people. And so I like trying to figure out where there's a missing connection and how people are communicating for a couple weeks ahead. Even when I'm not producing, I'm doing that. But I always warn ADs that I'm doing that before we work together. And I want everyone to feel valued, and I want everyone to feel like that. I want them to enjoy their job. We're with each other for 12 to 16 hours, somewhere around there. And that you're not with your family, you're not taking breaks, and it's a lot to ask of people, and so for it to be a bad atmosphere is not cool. So I think when you are a producer, or even when you're not, and you are a lead actor, you are allowed to set the tone, and that is what I look forward to. I want people to get into arguments that are about how do we make it better. I don't want anyone having arguments about not feeling respected. I think creative arguments are like delicious, and debates are great. Like I love debating people. But you can only really do that in a healthy way with coming from a place of respect. And so that's what I love most about it. When
you're looking for other projects to produce, and maybe just to produce, what are you looking for right now?
I look for things and try and create things that are reflecting our culture and society. I think the work that I've been most excited to see recently is doing that in really interesting ways. And whether it's like subversive, whether it's comedy, whether it's even through like the film assessment. I'm not producing, I didn't produce that, but the film assessment, which is this like near future sci-fi, that's this kind of contained world. That felt very reflective of our society and culture and eternity in some ways too. Like I said in this Q&A last night after one of the screenings, that I loved that David Frame's point of view of the afterlife was this kind of like nihilistic sell, just a continuation of the world we've built. But that kind of allows this kind of like unexciting love in a way, this kind of mundane love to be bigger than whatever the afterlife is.
Well, so let me do a round of hands again for who saw Eternity last night. Okay, so most of you know what we're talking about. I really enjoyed it. I wasn't here last night. I saw it in the screening room. It was me and 3 other girls, and we laughed a lot. I think it's a great girl movie. but it's very creative and very romantic, and I love the world that David built. Yeah, it's like a giant convention hall. How did you first get involved in this, and at what point were you like, I want to start it and I want to produce it?
Oh gosh, how frank do I want to be?
We're all friends.
Is anyone writing about this? And that's what I read. Marla's like, just don't say anything you don't want to be repeated. It's my fatal flaw as a person. So I read the script and I thought it was really great. No one was attached to it. I met with David, and A24 was already involved, so I knew there was like some financing, that it wasn't going to be like too hard to get going. And I thought that if I ever were to do a romantic comedy, I wanted to do a romantic comedy as an 80-something-year-old woman. That felt right to me. And I loved the relationship between Joan and Larry. I thought, well, my husband absolutely will leave this world 90 years old choking on a pretzel. And I related to it. I loved it. I was charmed by it. And then it took a while to cast everything else. So I think about a year later is when we made it. And it was during the casting process and like silly like legal stuff where sometimes you become a producer. I wasn't like really working. That's what I'll say that. I basically realized that in independent films, it's sometimes nice to become an executive producer so that you can help support the director. Sometimes you don't need to. Sometimes the director will be in a situation where they're trying to fight for something to be in the film or cast someone that they want in the film, and it is more helpful if you have that to kind of go advocate for them or support them in what they want. And so that is why sometimes I become an executive producer. So I wouldn't say I produced it in the same way. I feel like I produce Sorry for Your Loss, where I'm like, involved in the sound mix. That's not what happened on this.
I mean, as you say, it's a level of advocacy. Like, I think if you walk into a room and you're like, no, I really want this thing that David also wants, people are going to listen. And I think that's very positive that you realize, or you hope that they're going to listen.
They might listen, they might not agree, and that's fine. But I think it's as long, you usually sign on because you believe in a director's point of view, and so it is sometimes helpful if this is only their third feature. Like, you're not going to do that with like P.T. Anderson or whatever. But with David or with Fleur Fortuné, who I wish I had with Assessment, because I wish I could have been more of an advocate along the way in different stages. She made the movie that she wanted to make ultimately, and that is nothing to do with it. That's not me reflecting on the outcome. But I do think that was her first feature, and I kind of realized then, like, oh, it would be really probably helpful for her if Alicia Vikander and I were also executive producers on it, just to support her more.
We talk about you playing an 80-year-old woman. You're
I used to say 90, and then I kept getting corrected that she's like 88 or something, but like, I don't really know.
Joey, your accent that you use in this is really wonderful, and the way you carry yourself. What was it like the first time that you found that character in your current form?
Well, we were trying to figure out the kind of like the duos of the times that Joan would have loved, and you kind of start with Shirley MacLaine and Jack Lemmon naturally, and then I just became obsessed with Ann Mira and Jerry Stiller, and I just, for whatever reason, I just was like, I think it's them, but whatever that means for Miles and I, and so that was kind of the start. Like, I wasn't trying to be like I wasn't trying to do a thing of the fifth, like I wasn't trying to do that, but I was trying to understand, whatever, like that kind of like scrappy New York, or like whatever it is, like Queens, like woman, and so I kept thinking of Ann Mira, and so that's where it started, and it was really, really fun. And I think Miles also, we both, I mean, I've never been more charmed by him on screen. So I think he was so fun to watch in this film.
Well, it's funny that we're kind of supposed to believe, and we do believe, like, Miles is a little schlubby. And it just, like, he's so charming. He loves his wife so much, and that was really, it's funny and it's sweet, and it was so much fun to watch.
Thank you.
I would be remiss if I didn't ask a question that, again, we're all friends here. I feel like recently, when you've been talking about Marvel stuff, and even like today, it feels like you're still in it. And I know that you're voicing Wanda in the show. Is there a world where you're not out of the Marvel business? It does seem like it's something you really love.
It is something I love, and it's something I always want to return to. And I think the thing that's been so special about the last 5 years is I've gotten to do so much of the character that I never thought I would. And so there are still character through lines that have happened in the comics that I would love to do, that I think fans also want to. I mean, these movies aren't for critics; these movies are for fans, and I would really love to kind of service some of those storylines.
Who there realizes that Lizzie is also a best-selling author?
Oh, wait, no, for children. Well,
No.
This is, I'm not a novelist.
She's a best-selling author.
Got it.
Who knew this?
Embarrassing me right now.
Okay. You and your husband have co-written 2 books.
Yeah.
In the Happy Harmony series.
Yeah.
But
It's a children's book.
They're children's books, but they're about really important things. They're about anxiety, and they're also about kindness.
She's a worry detective.
Yeah. What is a
It's like
worry
a film
detective?
noir worry
What is a worry detective? Do you feel like you're a worry detective?
No, I don't. I feel therapied, but not. I feel like I've been given tools that I ignore or choose not to ignore. But the books were really, really fun for us. My husband and I, we were trying to. He had quite a few children's book ideas, and we were playing around with them like in 2019, and then somehow in 2020, a publisher asked us, "Have you guys thought of anything around the anxiety space for kids?" And that was where Hattie Harmony, he very quickly thought of Hattie Harmony. And he has 2 other picture books that are not related, that are his, that one will come out this year and the other next year. And the inspiration behind all of it really was trying to think about like the first piece of art kids are really shown, and it's children's books and storytelling. And I think it was coming from a place of like, how do you inspire curiosity and patience in children when there's so much to be distracted by. And that's where it started. And our goal always with Hattie Harmony was to hopefully make it into a children's preschool show one day, which is something we're actively doing right now, and that's been really fulfilling.
This is all a long way of me getting to a question. As a producer, who obviously loves being hands-on, wants to have a good set, wants to be involved, writing, is writing and directing a film something that you're interested in at all? I could see it for you.
I think it would be something I might do at some point. Directing is something I really admire so much, so it's hard for me to be like, yeah, I can do that. Like, I find it to be such a true art and talent, and something I respect. And I love a lot of elements of writing. I don't like sitting down and writing dialogue, but I love help crafting story. I love creating turns. I love creating payoffs and things that return back to. But that's because I also love writing essays, and so it's something I do like. But I don't know if I will direct. I have nothing that comes like it's silly because I don't know, but maybe. I don't know.
You have a ton of upcoming projects.
Really?
Yes. You're like, oh my god.
I don't think so.
I feel like, well, you at least have 2. You have one that is returning you to working with Sean Durkin.
Well, who knows? No, that's a pilot. I've never shot a pilot in my life. No one might. I probably just pilot. Just do it in the dark.
You can do it in front of a live audience.
Yeah, well, we don't know if it's a real show. So That's just, I made a pilot. You might not ever see it, but I did. And with Sean Durkin, and that was really lovely, who directed Martha Marks Me Marlene. It was, and Will Arbery is a great playwright. He wrote it. It's a great group of people, great cast. J. Smith Cameron, Tony Edwards, Chris Milioti. It's a great group of people. I would really love to make it, but it's not real.
What is real? What's in?
I made a movie called Panic Carefully this winter. That is a political thriller starring Julia Roberts, Eddie Redmayne, and Brian Tyree Henry, and that will probably come out, I don't know, sometime mid next year.
When you were in this sort of in between time,
Yeah.
like this is coming out. I don't know if this is actually going to happen.
Yeah, it's called A Dark, Dark Hole.
What do you do during that time?
Well, I pitch a lot of things, and I try and help filmmakers find money to make movies. And that's it. I'm trying to build, I guess. There is an element, obviously, of like unwinding or something, but you can only unwind for so long until you feel like you're a retired 36-year-old, which is never a goal. And so, yeah, so it's just kind of you try and figure out how much you can I don't know, create and have some sort of forward momentum.
Are you someone who goes to the movies, or
yes,
okay,
all the time.
What were the last few movies that you've seen that you loved?
I saw One Battle After the Other, One Battle After Another, 2 days ago, in New York, and I adored it.
Well, you mentioned PTA earlier, so I was like, oh, she's seeing.
Yeah, it was fresh in mind. Yeah, I watch I basically don't like leaving neighborhoods and we're in Los Angeles, because it's kind of the point of Los Angeles is you don't leave where you live, which is why it's a dark, dark hole. And but I do to go see movies, and that's how I kind of travel around LA, is doing that.
I think we have time.
You guys are like, no, we don't.
We do.
We signed up for 45
We have 10 minutes. Okay.
Okay, sorry.
So we're going to be able to take a few questions from the audience. I don't think we have a mic, so just if I point you
Also,
out,
no pressure.
you can stand up and I'll point you, or no pressure. If you guys don't have any questions, guys. Lady right here. Yeah.
Hi. Thank you for everything you've done. And I wonder, is there a character or are there characters in literature and books that you've read that you'd like to bring to the screen?
That's a great question.
Want me to repeat it?
Sure.
She wanted to know if there are any characters in literature that Lizzie Haseen wants to bring to the screen. That's a great question.
George and Martha, Who's Afraid of Virginia Woolf, is something I've never been interested in playing Honey, so I haven't. But I would love to play Martha one day. That's something that's really important to me. Long Day's Journey is also another role that's really, Mary Tyron's a character I'd love to play. And so those are the first two that come to mind. Yeah.
This gentleman right here.
I know you just talked about storylines in the MCU and the comics that you would love to do eventually, maybe. Is there a specific one? Because I know in one interview you talked about Wanda going crazy and having children and doing all that, and then she actually did.
Yeah.
So is there anything in particular you have in mind, like something like House of M or anything that you would love to do?
That's exactly what it is, actually. It's
that's
House
what
of
you
M is what I would love to do with Martha. But I think we'd have to figure out how to almost do it in reverse, because she says no more mutants.
That's true.
And
yeah.
we don't have mutants yet in the Marvel
True,
world,
but they're
so
trying to
something.
get the mutants now with everything in the
Yeah.
MCU, but I mean you'd have to come back first.
I'd
as
have
your
to
character.
first come back to life.
Of course.
Yeah, but that is the storyline that I love so much, in the comic that I love so much for her.
Okay.
Yeah.
Perfect. Thank you.
Yeah.
This lady right here.
Speaking of your theater experience, do you have a preference between Stanislavski or Meisner?
Do I have a preference?
Yeah.
Well, that's about just acting.
Yeah, what do you find that you lean towards?
So the thing that I loved about doing the Stanislavski in Russia is that it's something that continued in time. They didn't freeze it.
Yeah.
They continue it, and so the teachers there believe that they're experts enough to continue the forward motion of it. So I actually really enjoyed that. Whereas the Meisner stuff felt very imperialistic or something when I did it. And but what I do love about Meisner is like the constant attention you have to be putting on someone else and not on yourself. Whereas Stanislavski, it's more selfish.
Yeah.
But there's a balance, and I think I had a teacher in Russia who told me, you know, you should feel like you're allowed to take up space. And I'm so of the mind of like always putting everything on everyone else I'm working with, because it's more fun for me to try and like do that with someone. But I think there is a balance between both. That's valuable.
Just to part B on that, having studied so many different crafts and processes, do you believe in process to curate your own? Are there cornerstones that you rely on? Is it different every time?
I think with process for me, it's different every time, yet it largely is like voice and physical. I think the longer, as I'm continuing, that's I have a really hard time as myself. I don't feel free in a character that's more like me, and I'd like to actually be better at that, but it's really hard. I feel a bit more vulnerable or something, and I much rather have some sort of affectation in my body or in my voice, because it feels freer, and it kind of allows me to feel like everything I do is okay, choice-wise. And so I think that's kind of the cornerstone of the process. And then it's also, I often work with a dialect coach who's very good with script analysis, and so she and I kind of work on that together.
This gentleman right here.
I was curious, I saw Attorney last night, I thought it was a great movie. Defending Your Life, did that inform any part of that movie?
I don't know if Defending Your Life informed David or Pat, who wrote the concept, and then David rewrote it. But strangely, it wasn't one of the references. I think probably to not draw too many comparisons to it. It wasn't one of David's main references for this film. It was more like A Matter of Life and Death, Avanti, The Apartment. What else? I feel like those were three really important films for him. Maybe to not lean into Brooks. Yeah. But I always want to lean into Brooks as a person. Yeah.
Oh, this right here in the striped sweater.
What advice would you give to your younger self when you started your acting career?
Advice you would give her younger self with her acting career. I was going to ask that. Good question.
I think as I got older, I tried to take up less space. And I continue to try to take up less space. But when I was younger, I was very okay with taking up space. And so I do think there's something to be said about being okay to take up space as you get older. If that means anything to you.
I feel like we could get everyone. I don't know. I think you guys. Okay, great questions. I guess my closing question will kind of spin off that one. Was there advice that you didn't take, and you're happy you didn't take?
Oh, gosh, look, there's advice I didn't take all the time. Whether or not I was right, I think it was usually foolish I didn't take it. So I don't have a clear answer for that one. Yeah, I ignore advice, and then but I don't also ignore advice. I'm not that stubborn, but yeah, I don't know. Sorry, that's a horrible way to end.
Is there advice you didn't take that you're happy you took?
Again, I'm going to end this weirdly. Someone told me, some advice that someone told me, I don't know, I'm really sorry. I'm bad with the advice game. Every time someone asks me that, I really don't know how to answer it, and I get so uncomfortable.
Honestly, it's your talk. How do you want it?
I just want to end by thanking everyone. I mean, I find it so annoying to hear my voice talk for an hour, so I really appreciate you all being here and sticking with it. It was a long chat, but I do appreciate you guys coming out on this beautiful, 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 beautiful Saturday, so I hope you enjoy the rest of your day today. Yes.